Hello students, this is standard 7th geography and the name of the lesson is soils. So let us move ahead. Before going to the actual explanation of the lesson, let's recall. The first question is, what are the different constituents of soil? That means, what are the things which are present in the soil? So take a pause and think, what are the things which are there in the soil? So it can be the remains of dead plants, animals, birds, insects, dry leaves, everything which is fallen on the ground, it gets mixed with the soil and they become the constituents of soil, even the minerals which are present in the soil. Next question is, from where do the abiotic factors become available for soil formation? Before answering this question, you should know what are abiotic factors. There are two factors, biotic and abiotic. Biotic means living things. Abiotic means non-living things. So here the question asked is, from where do the abiotic factors become available for soil formation? If the soil should be formed, it is not mud, it is soil. So for that soil formation, which are the abiotic factors? So it can be your water, it can be the solar energy, it can be your wind. Okay, so these are the abiotic factors. On which factors does the variety of the soil depends? There are different types of soil. It can be a black soil, soil or a regular soil, or it can be a yellow soil, it can be a red soil, brown soil, laterite soil. These are different types of soil. So on which factors does the variety of the soil depends? So all these questions, when you see, the factors can be the climate, the temperature of the place, the geographical conditions of the place. So if you see this, then and if you know the answer for this, then only you can move ahead and you can understand the explanation of the lesson soils. Let us consider the soil in more detail. So now what we have to study about soil, how the soil is formed. So the first point is the parent rock. Second point is the climate of the region. Next is the slope of the land. And the fourth one is time. These are the factors that influence soil formation. I'll repeat, parent rock, the climate of the region, the slope of the land, time are the factors that influence soil formation. We will see one by one. Now see, this is the parent rock. You can actually see a whole huge rock. This is known as the basic, we can say the parent rock means the basic rock. Now what happens to this rock later? So first factor for soil to be formed will be parent rock. Depending on the hardness of the rock and climate of the region, the rocks gets weathered. Means what? Here, hardness of the rock means whether the rock is very hard or the rock is very soft. See, there can be a difference between two different types of rocks. Some will be more hard, some will be a little less harder because it is a rock. And so hardness of the rock is one factor. Second is climate of the region. How is the climate? Whether the climate is hot, it's cold, it's humid, it's dry. So there are two things, hardness of the rock and climate of the region. Because of these two things, the rock gets weathered. Now what is weathered or weathering? It is washing away. The rock's particles will move out of the main parent rock. It will be washed away. It will be eroded. Similarly, let's move ahead. Now, see here, when the rock erodes, that means it is cutting off slowly. I can give you an example of an onion. Onion means kanda. When you peel the onion, there are peels of the onion which are there, the cover of the onion which is there. What are they known as? Peels. Similarly, the parent rock which is there, it also peels slowly. So, this rock turns into powdered form and turns into earthy material. So rock turns into the powdered form and then turns into earthy material. Now what is earthy material? That means it gets mixed with the earth, that is with the surface, with the mud. Basalt rock of the Deccan Plateau in Maharashtra. This is one of the example. Basalt rock of the Deccan Plateau in Maharashtra turns into black soil or rigger soil. So you can imagine here, this is a basalt rock. This entire rock will get washed away because of the wind, because of the climate. Some changes will be there. so that particles which are there, they convert into a powder form, and later on this basalt rock which is there, it gets converted into a black soil or a rigger soil. Example, another example for this, rocks like granite and gneiss. The rocks, again I'll repeat, granite and gneiss. Now gneiss, we can say the pronunciation is N-E-I-S-S, nice. So your G is silent. So how will you pronounce it? Nice. Rocks like granite and gneiss in South India will give rise to red soil. So now see, these are different rocks. Basalt rock gives rise to black soil. Okay, similarly granite and gneiss, which is this rocks are available in South India, it will give rise to red soil. That means what? When these rocks will get wetted, it will turn into a powdery form and it will turn into a red soil. Now the second factor which affects or which is responsible for the formation of soil is the regional climate. So how is the climate of that area? As I already told you, whether the climate is very hot, very cold, it's dry, it's humid. So process of weathering depends on the climate. The climate decides the intensity of weathering. Now what is intensity? The speed of weathering. Sometimes the weathering is very slow. Sometimes the weathering is very fast. That means the rock particles which will come out of that main rock will be very fast. Sometimes it will be very slow. That is weathering, washing away of the rock particles. One and the same type of rocks give rise to different types of soil when rock is exposed to climate. That means same type. Example, if I'll give an example of basalt rock. Same basalt rock, if there are two different climates, in hot climate it will give rise to another soil, but in the cold climate another soil will be formed with the same type of rock. Let us see. Now see, here I have given an example of a basalt rock. Same rock is there, but in the dry climate on the Deccan Plateau, it will give rise to black soil, formation of black soil. But the same basalt rock, when the climate is humid in Western Sahyadris, it will give rise to lateritic soil, or we can say laterite soil. So can you see the difference? Here, same rock gives rise to black soil in dry climate and laterite soil in humid climate. Now see, these are the two types of soil which are formed because of the weathering of basalt rock. That is the black soil and the laterite soil in different climates. Now the next is biotic material. Now what is biotic material? The living things material, the living material. Now this biotic material can be your animals, human waste, animal waste, cow waste, or the dead animals, dead plants, dry leaves, everything which is falling on the ground is a biotic material. To turn such powdery material into soil, it is necessary that biotic material should get mixed into the soil. This material should be mixed into the soil. Example, you can see over here. Biotic material, it comes from the decomposition, or we can say decaying of dead plants and animals. Now, which are the things which decompose and then it is converted into a biotic material? Which are the biotic materials where they decompose and they make the main humus? The top layer of the soil is known as humus, which is really very fertile. So which are the things? The biotic material, the vegetable litters, the roots of plants, the remains of animals. These biotic material gets mixed into the soil and it is called humus. If the proportion of humus is greater, then the soil becomes fertile. And when the proportion of humus is less, then the soil is not so much fertile. Nowadays, the production of vermicompost is undertaken on a large scale. Now, what is vermicompost? You can see here in the slide that there are worms which are there into the soil. So, what they do, they collect all the vegetable litters and everything. This vegetable litters, everything is mixed with the mud, and then it is put into one small pit, and then they release the earthworms in that. And then after this earthworms, it loosens the soil. It actually moves into that, it loosens the soil, and this helps in composting. And this is a vermicompost, very we can say of good quality, very much necessary for the plant's growth. Now the third factor we can say is time. It takes thousands of years to form 2.5 centimeter thick. You can take your scale and measure how much is 2.5 centimeter. If you see, that means such a small thin layer also of 2.5 centimeter, it takes thousands of years to make that soil, top layer of soil. So whenever there is a high rainfall and the temperature is high, both the factors, if the rainfall is high and the temperature is high, in that region the soil formation will be faster, and when there will be low rainfall and low temperature, the soil formation will be slow. Humans use this soil, the soil which is formed, we can say which is very humus is in greater quantity over there, fertile soil, that type of soil is used for agriculture. Chemical fertilizers and insecticides are used profusely. That means profusely means in a large quantity. This leads to the degradation of soil. Degradation means, I can give you one example over here. That see, when you are promoted from first grade to first standard to second standard, then you go up third, then fourth. So what is it? Grading of your standards. But degrading is you're coming down. Similarly, this also, here also, what is degradation of soil? You are spoiling the soil. You are spoiling the nutrients of the soil. So which are the things which spoils the soil? Chemical fertilizers and insecticides. So always remember, earth doesn't mean soil. Again I'll repeat, the earth which is there where you are living on, the ground, is not your soil. What is soil then? Soil contains the powdered form of weathered rock, partially or completely decomposed organic material, and innumerable microorganisms. So soil is what? It is an ecosystem. Thank you. And I will continue the second part of this in the next video.